And I'm like, why do people keep going through this loop? And the biggest reason why is because, I'll say it again, nobody wants your honesty. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in a whole body and whole mind and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we're choosing, right? What I'm discussing today is your honesty. So I think in the past few weeks, I've been challenged with the notion of whether or not I should share my honest opinions with people when they ask me, right? So my previous thinking, the thinking that I've always had in the past was like, if someone's saying, what's your opinion on something, that it was completely useless if I was not willing to give my honest opinion to them, right? But this is what we have to understand. Even when we give our honest opinion to others, we are not immune to, or we can't get away from the idea of the consequences of being honest, right? And what I've come to realize in so many little areas in my life, it's like it's just showed here, there, is that nobody really wants your honesty. Like, nobody. And I promise you they don't, right? And so I was ahead of this committee, I'll say. We're doing something for some work that I was doing, and it was about soft skills, about a growth mindset, about a mindset that's always looking to expand, grow, and change. And one of the things that I decided to tackle with the group was giving back honest feedback to other people, giving honest, conversations, right? And so there was a master class that we also did. It was called Radical Candor. So if you know what the word candor means, it's like, just not holding back when it's time to tell people the truth about things, right? So I'm going through this course and I'm looking at these things, and then I'm working with the people, and I'm realizing that no matter what we cover and no matter what we talk about, there's still a disconnect between people being able to say exactly what's on their mind and then people being able to share information that is useful but maybe tactful at the same time. So we'll go through all this trouble of like, yeah, feedback, we should learn how to be more honest, blah, blah. But then the minute we are challenged with it again, we go right back to our old ways of just saying, whatever works, right? And I'm like, why do people keep going through this loop? And the biggest reason why is because, I'll say it again, nobody wants your honesty. And I'll give a few examples. Every time I was in a situation where someone was telling me, I want your honest opinion, what do you think, right? It was always okay until that honesty was something that didn't make them look good in a certain light, right? It's like people will love your honesty as long as it's not turned on them in any kind of way. I'm really big on honesty for myself because I don't want to be in environments or around people where someone has to tell me some really basic information about how I'm performing or what I'm doing and I have no self-awareness, right? So me is like, maybe a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but just hand it here. I'll take it, right? And so what I noticed in these environments is that people really just want you to say good things to them. And if there are areas that they need to improve or something that needs to be worked on, you'll have to tiptoe around it in such a delicate way. But by the time you give that message, the validity or even the seriousness of it is no longer even clear, because if you were that clear, you would really, really hurt feelings. You would really, really hurt and crush egos, and that may not be your intention, but that would be the outcome of it, right? I think about dealing with my daughters or dealing with family, if that's one of the ones we want to talk about, and how sometimes I am very aware of something that they're doing or something that's happening, whether it's hygiene related, whether it's how they are doing their classwork or what they're staying on top of, how they're interacting with their friends, right? And I'll share something that definitely needs to have an eye on it. Now, it's rejected hardcore when I first say it. It's rejected, which is fine because I understand that mindset because I've had it many times myself. And then those things will change or something will be addressed. And then it's like, I'm so happy I did this because blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, you have to remember that the honesty part of it was rejected, but they actually took the lesson and went and addressed the thing, right? So sometimes we have to remember that even when we share our honesty, we're not the beneficiary of it, right? Our honesty may be something that rips a friendship apart. It may be something that ruins a relationship. It may be something that gets people to side eye you for a few months, right? If it's our honesty and our truth, it may not be palatable for others. But what we have to remember is that the effects of it is still usually going to happen, right? I've been in situations too, especially working with people with contract work and working environments and stuff, to where they will call me in their office space and like, give me honesty about these people, this place is, and I'm completely honest, right? But I'm like, all these things have issues. Since you asked me, I'm gonna give you my honest feedback. And then I'm saying also too, I think the leadership is not really approaching this, and then it's like, we don't need your honesty anymore. I'm laughing so hard because this is exactly how it goes, right? It's like, give me honesty about all these other peasants, but when you start talking about something that might affect me, then honesty over, right? And then what you'll find is that you may work yourself into a space where people are negative towards you, and because you didn't do anything but give them the honesty they were asking for. I'm very skeptical sometimes too. I've had people do this in family. It's like, tell me what you think about me. Like, am I a decent person in this area? Do I? And I'm like, that's not really my judgment. You should be judging that on yourself. But I'll say, you know what? Well, I guess I've never done it, but I've seen people that do it, and they were horrifically wasting their time. The family member turned on them immediately. You know what? I do my best to do. And so it's like, you can go and you can honor that with people, but you have to do it only with certain people in certain environments in very specific places, right? Sometimes people always say honesty is the best policy. I don't know about that. Sometimes it's good to just keep your mouth shut if you're maneuvering in a certain environment and you don't want any smoke, right? Because whenever you start to show people how you think, how you process, and how you see the world, and how you're not just shallow and surface level, it really gets them to be in an uncomfortable and insecure space. And the reason why is because they're not thinking that most people are being that introspective or either looking around and trying to understand the world around them. They're so used to people kind of like zombieing through life, right? It's like, good morning, what'd you do this weekend? Blah, 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 blah. And when you have someone around you that's got a deep baseline, right? I consider myself, I have a deep baseline, right? My baseline is somewhere in the deep end of connection and conversation, right? And then somebody, like I was telling my daughter this the other day, she has more of a shallow baseline. It's not that she can't get deep. It's just that her baseline when interacting with other people is very on a shallow level. So she doesn't have all these conflicts sometimes with people and their character and how they're acting until she actually gets to know them a little bit more. And me and all my years on this earth at this point, I can literally get around people and be like, the mindset ain't gonna work for me. It's just, it's very easy to see it. And so you have to remember that when you start to show your thinking and how you process and how you approach the world, they immediately think, well, then how does she see me? It's like it immediately goes to this selfish part of their brains. It's like, well, then she's probably thinking I'm like this. She's probably thinking I'm like that. He's probably thinking that I see the world. And so you didn't even give them any information, but they know how you think. And if they know you're not giving other people passes in a certain area and they might be committing the same behavior, then they already know you see, and this is what's so funny. You never have to say it, but if they know that you're a deep introspective kind of thinker and you deal with things on a level of clarity and intuition, those sort of ways, they'll already convict themselves. A lot of people, they'll walk in, because this is the thing. Everybody knows who they are for the most part. It's like people are not walking around not knowing who they are, right? So it's like sometimes you may get into this thing with people or you have a conversation. And I remember I used to be really big on people not admitting things. Like you didn't admit, you weren't accountable. This happened and you didn't even acknowledge it or whatever. And what I realized is that even when I decided to let these things go and let these people go and let this stuff go, my conviction meant absolutely nothing. They already knew who they were. They already knew what they've done. They already knew what what they're involved in and how they approach the world. People know who they are, right? So sometimes we sit around and try to stump and tell people and defend ourselves and like, he did this and they did this and I know this. I know I'm not crazy. They gaslight. You probably aren't crazy. People know who they are. So you don't have to fight with that notion, right? I recently had an incident with someone to where I was really caught up on the idea of they were being dishonest and they were not being clear. And I'm like, look me in the eyes and say that again, because you know this is not true, right? And so in that situation, I think my biggest goal was for this person to know you have a crummy character. Your character cannot be relied upon for anything. That was my whole perspective. So when nothing ever came from just me believing and knowing this, and my truth was never really put on the table in front of everybody for everyone to see, redemption like we needed from other people. In that situation, I thought it was important. When I walked away and finally let the stuff go with dealing with this person and interacting, because I realized, if it's just contract stuff, work stuff, I ain't really got to know you, but I know what you're doing. What I found peace in knowing was that this person knows exactly who they are and what they do. Nobody's tricking anybody. You can trick a few shallow people, but you can't trick yourself. You can't trick the creator, right? And you definitely can't trick people who are introspective and deep thinkers, right? So when they know this, when you know this already, you have to find some peace in, maybe I'll never get redemption in that area with dealing with these people, places, or things. But at the end of the day, they know exactly who they are. They know exactly who they are not. And they know exactly how you see them. And the level of introspection that you give to the situation, nobody else has to ever know. Nobody else has to ever agree. Your truth is your truth. And I've been saying that a lot lately. And guess what? They know who they are. They know what they are. You know what I mean? So anyway, like I said before at the beginning of this video, nobody really wants your honesty. And if you're pulling out honesty, you better be prepared to get the repercussions of it, because most people have a lot of lip service about these sort of things, but they don't necessarily actually want the real deal, right? They don't want the smoke of life. They don't want the smoke of saying, this is what we're working with and this is what we're doing, right? Check my watch. I got a few things to do today. Anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And it feels nice to jump back into a video again because I haven't made one in a minute. And just keep that in mind. Like, your honesty is a valuable commodity. Don't just go throwing it out everywhere, because you may be caught up in situations and people and ideas and thoughts that you're like, if I would have just kept my mouth shut and moved on with my life and ignored these people because I already knew what they were, I would have had a better outcome, right? Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, just keep that in mind. Be careful with your honesty. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.